So, here we go again. Some square root fun. Alright, so let's take a look at this. We've got our x's have to be bigger than 0 and our y's have to be greater than 0. Which just means that you really can't have a square root with a negative number under it. Not for real numbers. You only have square roots for positive numbers. For example, the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. Right? 16, 4. You know, and of course square root of 1 would be 1, because 1 times 1 gives you 1, right? But you don't really have square roots of like something times something give you the number for negatives. But the square root, we should say first that it's actually the inverse operation to the square. So the square root is the inverse of the square. So square was like the number multiplied by itself. 3 times 3, 9. If you take the 9 and you square root it, then you go back, you get the original thing. So just like plus, minus, times, divide, it's the inverse operation. Let's take a look at some stuff, what we can do here, because there's some like fraction magic. For example, they have this sort of a plus b over cd. And they're going to do this kind of thing with it. I just did it with different letters to show you how it can be written as an easier way. That's the same thing as A over CD plus B over CD. Okay? So, let's say, for example, 3 plus 2 over 10. C equal 5, D equal 2. Okay, so we got 10 on the bottom. This would be the same thing as, it's basically 5 over 10 as you look at it this way. 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay, that would be a half, right? 5 over 10 is a half. And that's what you've got here. Okay, but if I take that 3 plus 2 and make it 3 over 10 plus 2 over 10, that's the same thing. It's kind of like we're doing the opposite of, normally we go from this and they say, okay, add those together, and we get that. And we get 5 over 10, right? Which is a half, again. But you add the tops and keep the same bottom when it's the same bottom, okay? So they've got the same thing here, but we're going to do it with weird-looking stuff. Just don't get too distracted with the weird-looking things. Just treat it like it's basic numbers and forget that it's strange-looking. We have this square root of x plus square root of y over xy. We're going to do it the same way. We're going to make it into two fractions. So we're going to have square root of x over the xy. That should be an x, if you can see it. Plus the square root of y over xy. That's the same as when we had the 10 and the 10 and the 3 and the 2, 3 plus 2. It's the same thing as when we had the 3 plus 2 together just a minute ago over 10, and I split it up. So we're going to do that here, okay? We're going to do some splitting. And when I do that, then I've got this messy looking x right here, sorry. Boom, boom. When I do that, I can say, oh, now there's another property that you need for this. If you had the square root of x over x, it's the same thing as 1 over the square root of x. Why? Well, it would take some time to explain. Let me say, well, let's try some easy numbers here. If you had, like, say, square root of 16 over 16. That's 1/4, right? Because square root of 16 is 4, and this is 16. That would be the same, right? But 4 over 16 is the same thing as 1 over 4. Right? You simplify it down. There's 1 4 up top there, and there's 4 4s down there. So where was I going with this? Oh yeah, I was going to show you that square root of 16 over 16 is the same thing as 1 over square root of 16, which is 1/4. So you get this weird property, basically, that tells you that these two things here are the same, okay? Which makes you be able to change this a little bit. Well, change this a little bit. So I'm going to change this one and this one using this information here that I've got. Square root of something over the same thing, square root of something, anything, over the same thing is same thing as 1 over the square root of the thing, okay? Don't know if you're going to memorize that or not. Probably not, but I'm just going to give you the logic of why this is what it is. So over here, I've got 1 over square root of x is what that's going to be. So I'm going to make that changed a little bit. 1 over square root of x. And I had a y here with it, didn't I? I can write the y over here, but we're not used to writing it in back of the thing. So I'm just going to write it over here. And then I have the plus sign, and I had another fraction, and I'm going to do the same thing with the y. So I've got 1 over square root of y. And I've got that x still down there that I didn't touch. Whoops, did I miss something? No, I don't think I did. So the answer is C, yeah. And that's kind of a tough problem. I don't know that they'll give you very many like this. I would definitely give some easier ones first for you, for, some practice. So, but you can look up and find in a number of places, I'm sure, if you want to. If I don't have time to look it up for you, you definitely can practice square root. And you can simplify, you can type this into Google, square root, simplify, rational expressions, that's supposed to be an S, 2 S's actually, rational expressions, okay? So, yeah, that was C.